Darrell Sheets was in a dark place before his death. The Storage Wars star, who died in an apparent suicide on April 22nd at age 67, had been vocal about the social media bullying he was experiencing in the weeks before his death.
Darrell Sheets is gone, but the story behind his final days is far from settled. What people thought they understood is now being questioned in ways no one expected. And those closest to him are beginning to speak up and raise even more concern. Was everything really as straightforward as it seemed? And if the truth is still unfolding, how much of it has the public actually seen? Join us as we unveil what you missed about Darrell Sheets' funeral. The tragic death and funeral. The world of reality television is mourning the loss of Darrell Sheets, who has died at the age of 67. But almost everything surrounding his passing is questionable. On Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, Darrell was photographed at his antique shop around 5 in the evening. A witness told TMZ he seemed upbeat, friendly, and happy. He was cracking jokes and engaging with people, filling up whatever room he was in, just like always. Nobody who saw him that day had any sense something was wrong. But something was indeed wrong, and it cost him everything. The people who took the photograph had no idea it was just hours before his death. Then, in the early hours of the following morning, everything changed. On April 22nd, 2026, at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, officers with the Lake Havasu City Police Department were dispatched to a residence in the 1500 block of Chandler Drive in reference to a reported deceased individual. Upon arrival, officers found a male unresponsive. That male was Darrell Sheets. The Lake Havasu City Police Department confirmed his death in a press release that sent ripples through the reality TV world within hours. According to their reports, they found him with what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His body was transferred to the Mojave County Medical Examiner's office for further investigation, and his family, including Brandon, were notified. The case was immediately handed to the Criminal Investigations Unit, which is still actively working it. For those who had watched him on their screens for over a decade, the news was incomprehensible. Darrell was a fan favorite on Storage Wars before retiring to Lake Havasu, Arizona, where he was operating an antique shop called Havasu, Show Me Your Junk. He wasn't someone who faded from public life. The police gave an official explanation, ruling out his death as self-harm. But while that story seemed plausible, not everybody bought it, and for good reason. The public began to search for their own answers and concluded that there was more to the story than meets the eye. Tributes began to pour in from co-stars, but one of them made a revelation that made this story even more complicated than it already is. When preparations began for his funeral, his fellow Storage Wars casts were not idle. According to US Weekly, Darrell's co-stars may now be stepping up in an incredible way and helping with the costs of his funeral expenses. Dan Doston said he and Nazoda would be willing to offer what they can to support the family during this time. However, other reports suggest that Darrell Sheets was not given a large public service. Instead, he is believed to have preferred a quieter farewell. According to those close to the family, the decision was made to honor his wishes with a more private ceremony. Beyond the tears, the circumstances surrounding Darrell Sheets' death have opened a deeply troubling chapter that extends well past the reality TV world. And here's what many people are missing from the whole incident. What really happened to Darrell Sheets? In his final days, Darrell Sheets may not have been as at peace as he appeared. He still showed up for his customers, still made jokes, still carried himself with the same presence people had always known. But beneath that surface, there were signs of deeper struggles that may have needed urgent attention. He had voiced concerns, yet they seemed to fade into the noise of everyday life. It was only after his passing that those moments began to resurface, raising questions that had gone unnoticed when it mattered most. In the hours after the news of his death broke, Darrell's Storage Wars co-star Renee Nizoda posted a video tribute to Instagram. His tribute was deeply unsettling. In the video, Renee revealed that Darrell had been dealing with someone who was really tormenting him through cyberbullying. Those were his exact words. Renee was visibly angry as he called out the cruelty of people who hide behind screens and attack public figures as if they are not real human beings. And this wasn't just internet speculation. It turned out that since March 2026, Darrell had been posting urgent, alarming messages on Facebook. He publicly identified individuals he accused of impersonating him online, contacting local businesses in his name, and working to destroy his reputation in his own community. On March 9th, he wrote that people were showing up to his workplace wanting to cause him physical harm. He said law enforcement was aware of the situation, but that their hands were tied because, in his words, Facebook allows it, and it is very bad. Those are the words of a man asking for help in the only public way he had left. Those posts are reportedly now at the center of a police investigation. In 2 posts in March, Darrell even let his friends and family know that if anything happens to him, it was these 2 specific people who would be behind it. When this got out, media outlets contacted the Lake Havasu City Police Department to confirm it. They were indeed told that authorities were aware of the cyberbullying allegations and that it had become part of the active investigation. That means investigators are now looking into whether online harassment contributed to Darrell's mental and emotional state before his death. So far, police have not publicly identified any suspect or revealed the nature of the messages. But the fact that such a thing was happening alone has sparked outrage online. Fans and fellow cast members began flooding social media with tributes and anger, demanding answers about who may have been tormenting him behind the scenes. The Mojave County Medical Examiner's Office is handling the case, and, as of today, full autopsy and toxicology results have not been made public. Over the last couple of days, 3 more voices in the Storage Wars family have stepped forward, and the picture they're painting together is troubling. There were warning signs. Laura Dodson, who has been a mainstay on Storage Wars alongside her husband Dan Dodson for 17 seasons, gave a stunning interview to Fox News, and the words she chose are going to stay with every fan of the show. According to Laura, Darrell was terrified for his life and for the people around him. He didn't know why he was being targeted, terrified for his life. She also confirmed what Darrell's own Facebook post already showed the world. She mentioned that the campaign had been going on for 3 years. That's 3 years of being targeted by someone he couldn't identify, couldn't stop, and could not escape. And as Laura Dodson reminded the public, this kind of harassment can break anyone. In her words, it happens to even strong men that you think aren't going to get their feelings hurt. Cyberbullying is a real thing, and it made Darrell feel less, and that obviously bothered him. And then came what may be the most chilling new detail in the entire case. A longtime business associate of Darrell's named Dusty has come forward describing a deal Darrell made in his final days that has him and his friends shaken to their core. According to Dusty, a friend of his had approached Darrell about buying an estate collection. Darrell was asking for $125,000 for the collection, and Dusty says his friend offered him only $50,000. Darrell, the legendary gambler who built his entire reality TV career on hustling for every last dollar, looked at that lowball offer and said, "Yeah, that's great." Now, Dusty told reporters that it wasn't the buying and selling that was odd. It was really the interaction, because Darrell wasn't the type of person to just roll over on an offer. He was a fighter for the last dollar in any deal. Dusty went on to describe what he and his friend now see clearly in hindsight. To put that in perspective, Dusty told reporters that even the last watch deal he made with Darrell, they were bickering back and forth over $50 with each other. So, according to him, it was 110% fully out of character for Darrell to so easily let go of $75,000 on an estate collection in his final days. It's the kind of detail that changes how investigators, friends, and family read every move Darrell made in his last weeks alive. And then there's Renee Nzoda. 3 days after his initial video, Renee sat down with US Weekly for an exclusive interview that has lit the internet on fire. Renee confirmed for the first time exactly what tactics this alleged cyberbully was using against Darrell. He said the person was impersonating Darrell with phone calls, messages, emails, websites. Renee also confirmed Darrell had been pulling away from the spotlight in his final weeks, saying, quote, "But the part of Renee's interview that is going to dominate this entire story going forward is what came next." Renee Nzoda, the man who shared a screen with Darrell Sheets for 13 solid seasons, told US Weekly on the record that he is not convinced Darrell did this to himself, and he gave a heartbreaking reason why he feels that way. Renee reminded fans that another Storage Wars cast member, Mark Bolello, reportedly took his own life back in 2013. According to Renee, Darrell was deeply, vocally, and religiously opposed to it. Darrell Sheets, by his closest friend's account, held strong personal beliefs against it and said so out loud repeatedly, which is why Renee is now publicly questioning the preliminary determination. Renee was careful in his interview. He wasn't making accusations he couldn't back up. However, there's a different view to the story. Some believe Darrell's death was a result of his health. But was it really? The health challenges. Everyone agrees that Darrell Sheets had a very successful career, but he had hitches that pulled him back constantly, like when he found himself threatened by a health crisis. It started in March of 2019, when Darrell suffered a heart attack. Rather than a minor heart issue, it was a full-on cardiac event that landed him in the hospital. However, being in the hospital was clearly not enough, as he was told he'd have to go in for surgery. He did. The surgery was successful. He recovered, but he was never quite the same physically. The diagnosis was enough to end anyone's career. He was told he had congestive heart failure combined with a serious lung condition. After the operation, he shared on social media that his heart was only functioning at 40%. To put that into perspective, it meant Gambler was basically running on half his power, gambling life, literally. It's even worse because Darrell's health challenges were not a one-time crisis he bounced back from. It was an ongoing battle that shaped every day of his life from that point forward. It became obvious that he could no longer continue with his TV career. He could no longer entertain the audience. So he made the difficult but very necessary decision to retire from television. He moved permanently to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, a peaceful desert community on the Colorado River. It wasn't that he could no longer stand before the camera or bid at auctions, but every energy he exerted doing those things would affect him in ways that he could never recover. But Darrell had always been a hustler, so he didn't retire completely. He opened an antique and resale store called Havasu Show Me Your Junk. The shop let him stay in the world he loved, hunting through old things and finding value where others saw junk without the physical and logistical grind of national television. It was, by all accounts, a quieter life, but still very much Darrell. However, what nobody outside his close circle knew was how much he was truly struggling. The health issues were real, and they were still ongoing, even after leaving TV. However, None of these pointed to self-harm. He was doing relatively well in his business, and he was still famous. It's unlikely that a gunshot to the head could have resulted from this. Either way, until the investigation is complete, fans can only wait. After Darrell's death, people decided to honor him. But what does A&E have to say? A befitting farewell? Appearing in 163 episodes is no small feat. Darrell quite literally carried the show. Storage Wars is what it is thanks to Darrell Sheets. The show ran a marathon for him, 8 hours of classic episodes 4. His voice filled living rooms across America one more time with the loud laugh, the catchphrases, the wow factor. Storage Wars had initially moved on, with 17 seasons in, with new cast members and new storylines, but they stopped everything to run 8 straight hours of classic Darrell Sheets episodes from 1 in the afternoon to 9 at night, back to back. They showed the bids, the reveals, the dramatic locker finds, and all the moments that made him a star. And then, during the new episode that aired that same evening, the one he wasn't in, because he had retired 3 years earlier, a card appeared on screen with the words, "We see you. We remember you were here." That's definitely not a small thing. That is a television institution pausing mid-season to honor someone who gave them their early identity. That only confirms that the show existed the way it did, because Darrell was in it. Dan Dodson, a veteran Storage Wars cast member who runs American Auctioneers with his wife Laura Dodson, shared a memorial on behalf of the auctioneer community. He also posted a group photo of the cast on Instagram and called Darrell his brother. He wrote that the world was going to miss him. Mary Padian shared a quiet black and white photograph on her Instagram story with a caption that said, "Some people become part of a chapter in your life that you never forget." And then there was Dave Hester, the mogul himself, the man who had clashed with Darrell Sheets more than perhaps anyone else on the show. The reality star who appeared alongside Sheets on the A&E reality series for several years, starting in 2010, reacted to the news of his co-star's death in a clip shared to Instagram and Facebook. Dave said, "Storage Wars has a big family." He called Darrell a big part of the show. He said some of his best moments on television were those battles with Darrell, and that those memories would stick with him. And then Dave Hester closed his tribute with his signature bidding call, "Yup, man out." For the first time in his career, he had used those words in a memorial. Brandy Passante's tribute was the one that stopped everything. Brandy revealed publicly that she had lost a parent and a brother to self-harm. She wrote that when someone takes their own life, they are not removing their pain, they are handing it to someone else. And she said, the grief from self-harm is endless. Renee Nzoda also said in his video that Darrell cared about his family, his son, and his granddaughter Zoe more deeply than almost anyone Renee had ever known. And Renee did not stop there. He said something that landed hard. Just because you watch someone on television does not mean you know them, and it does not give you the right to destroy them. The collective response from the Storage Wars family revealed something that millions of viewers might not have fully appreciated. The rivalries were for the cameras. The friendships were real. The fans, too, have rallied around Darrell's memory with overwhelming emotion. On social media, fans of the reality TV star have expressed sadness over his death, with many recalling his days on Storage Wars. One person noted, "I encountered him when I was working at Disneyland. Nice guy, and may he rest in peace. Mental health matters, and you're not alone." Another said, "That's sad. Been watching him since day one. He was an OG of the show." A third fan commented, "Damn, that's sad. He seemed like a pretty good dude. R.I.P. Broa." One more wrote, This has really upset me seeing this. Darrell was my favorite on Storage Wars. It's important, however, to say here that despite the claim of cyberbullying, no charges have been filed in connection with the post and allegations. The individuals Darrell identified in his Facebook posts have not been called, and their culpability has not been established in court. But the investigation is active, and this story has not reached its ending yet. Now, here's where the story stands today. Local police said they are still actively investigating the case. The medical examiner has not finalized any cause of death aside from the gunshot, and Darrell's March Facebook posts are now public evidence. And the world is waiting to see whether the man Darrell named in his own Facebook posts will face any consequences at all. Darrell's legacy is not tainted. He gave himself to his job, doing what he loved. Fans are hopeful that the needful would be done to get to the root of the case. As for now, fans are sending their thoughts and prayers to Darrell's finance, his son, Brandon, and granddaughter Zoe. Will the police get to the root of this? And is there more to this than we know? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.